everyone, welcome back to the Twin Sons podcast, your home for everything Legends of Runeterra. I'm Shane.
And I'm Josh.
And this is episode 40. Let's go. We are on Tuesday, November 10th, episode 40. No Mikey this week again.
How is Mikey not here for the big 4-0?
The big 4-0. We kind of just sprung it on him. Big patch. We were like, hey, we're recording right now. Can you join us? And he was excuses. Like, nah. Yeah, no excuses. Mikey, next time. Episode 41, he'll join back in, I guess, yeah? We'll see. Maybe you've seen the last of Mikey. Who knows? Maybe we'll kick him out after this one. Episode 40, as always, brought to you by RuneterraCCG.com. Definitely check out that site, guys. They have a ton of stuff going on, deck breakdowns, as always. Full meta report is up now. Also, I think it's one of the only sites that really breaks down Expedition fully. They have the whole, all the different Expedition archetypes. So if you are a new player playing that mode, trying to grind in that mode, get the best out of your Expedition tokens, check it out. Or, if you're like me and you have 34 Expedition tokens, just burn them each week, then, check it out for the other reasons. But yeah, check out that site. Make sure to check it out. Josh, how was your week, bud?
It's been pretty good. Been doing a lot of house stuff, so haven't gotten to play as much as I would like, but there's some exciting stuff that came out today, so.
There is quite a spicy patch. So we kind of knew it was going to be spicy because they talked about it a little bit. We had Ruben talk about a few of the different things coming on different streams and Q&As and Discords and things like that. So we knew some stuff. Like last week, we were discussing the Shyvana buff that was coming in the Trundle nerf because we knew those two, and I think we also knew Ezreal was getting changed. So we got all that and a lot more. Whole lot more.
It's incredible. We were talking with Swim about these patches just kind of shaking things up a ton instead of just a tiny bit. And I think they definitely knew what people were asking for, and they decided to shake a ton up. So,
yeah, it definitely makes it feel like they had that last patch really was just two changes were rushed in because they wanted to say, okay, we realize that Pirate Burn is still a little bit overperforming. We realize that Swain TF may be slightly overperforming, and we realize Lee Sin's pretty terrible still. Terrible in the sense that terrible for the game, aka pretty amazing. So they rushed in those two changes of Make It Rain and Lee Sin getting the +1 mana nerf. And then they saved these 17 changes for this week.
It's amazing. It's pretty amazing. It's like, so people, I think I said this last cast also, but people are really upset that there is that quick change of just two things. Right. Like the last patch, and it really did shake up the meta. It was pretty good as to what actually came into the meta. There's a ton of different decks that came out. I know Field of Rush came out and people were just playing that, but still, I don't think that play rate was too out the window. So now that there's 17 changes, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely, like we discussed, it's got to be the big patch here because it's probably the last balance patch before the seasonal tournament. So we knew it was going to be pretty big, and man, they delivered. Let's, I guess, go through our normal little introduction here first and talk, quickly about, from Vault Rewards, what we learned, all this type of jazz. And then we'll pretty much just dive straight into the patch after a few announcements here. And we'll just break down all the news that we got, which was, a metric buttload of news. So I guess first, Vault Reward, I honestly don't remember. I didn't write it down. I have no idea. But I got to level 14, so 13 plus 1. So I played a lot.
Yeah, I do not remember what my vault was either. It was one of those vaults where I just clicked through it as fast as possible.
Yep.
I think I remember seeing 3 epics on there, but I couldn't tell you what those 3 epics were.
Yeah, I have no idea. Moving on. Let's talk about our favorite moment of the week here, Josh. You have one?
Actually, my favorite moment and something that I learned kind of go hand in hand. Okay. But I've been using this Callista Thresh Ionia deck, and it's basically just mist rates. And, you're just using Callista to possibly summon some mist callers or the tentacles, which the name is escaping me right now. The 5/5 3 cost.
I'm not helping you, dude. I'm not helping you.
Oh, dang. Okay, well, people know what I'm talking about. But there are some crazy crazy shenanigans that deck just brings out. So the Ionia, I'm just teching in. What is it? Go Get It and Deathmark, just for the occasional ephemeral that Callista summons, or the Death Tentacles that I can't think of right now.
He wants me to help him so bad.
But yeah, literally, I feel like I would have some bad draws, and then all of a sudden it's like Callista comes out, a Mistwraith comes out, I get a Stalking Shadows, and I pull a Chronicler, I Chronicler the Mistcaller, and then they try and kill my Callista so she doesn't level up, but I miscall the Callista, and then it's just this whole just endless board state of just fearsome and good static, good things for trading, just constantly just coming onto the board. And literally just my favorite moment was my full board just being filled with Callistas because of missed calls and Rekindlers and Go Get It on my Rekindlers.
Yes, so Go Get It on a Rekindler is 2 Callistas, right? Just by himself.
Yes.
And you played a Rekindler, so that was also a 3rd Callista. Yeah, so.
Yeah. So, you attack and you summon 3 Death Tentacles. And you start 3
Darkwater Scourge is
the Darkwater Scourge. Yeah, I really could not remember that at all.
I really actually love Death Tentacles though. That's very solid.
But yeah, so you attack with 3 Callistas, summon 3 Darkwater Scourges while still having 3 Callistas on board. It's amazing.
Hey, for a while there, oh man, now I'm drawing a blank. The Deathmark with the Darkwater Scourge was one of the best ways to remove Trundle, man.
Oh, I actually did it a couple times. It was amazing. Yeah,
it was the best way because Trundle is just a pain in the ass. All right, I guess my favorite, mine goes, so yours went with something we learned this week. Mine goes with the ranked update. So I hit Masters, which was awesome.
Nice, congratulations.
And my favorite moment was I got to get some revenge. I had played Hyped before a few times. He's a streamer as well. I've watched his streams a few different times. Played him a few past seasons, probably 4 times total. He literally only has ever played me using Karma Ezreal. It's the only deck he uses. And it still was playing Karma Ezreal this time as well. But Ezreal right now, as of today until tomorrow, still requires 10 targets. And I was just running Soraka Kench, and I just healed everything and just won by springs, which felt great. So I was like, yes, good work. Got to take some revenge against a player who had beaten me multiple times before. And it was my second to last game before Masters. He was right before my final boss.
Definitely a feel good then.
Yeah. And the feel good on top of it is just beating, Karma Ezreal is just the best feeling.
Yep.
Because F that deck. So we'll probably have a little bit more of that coming up too.
Yeah, probably.
So something you learned this week, Josh, what is it?
It's a really weird interaction with, the board space. So when you have 6 units, or how should I put it? You have 5 units, and you attack, and Callista's leveled up, and you summon a Mistcaller. So it's basically a full board of 5. You summon the Mistcaller, so that's your 6. The Mistcaller then summons a Mistwraith that goes onto your bench. Now, with everyone else, I've seen this. That thing that's summoned usually gets destroyed, but the Mistwraith actually goes onto your bench. Whereas, if Braum was to take damage in the queue, his Mighty Poro dies. Or there's another thing that if you're discarding units and you say you discarded a Jury Rig or a Flame Chomper, they obliterate instead of going onto your board. But for some reason, this Mistwraith gets to go on your board even though you have 6 units out already.
Yeah, that is weird. That's a very odd interaction.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know why the Mistwraith is allowed. And, the Mistcaller is ephemeral, so he will die. But say I Deathmark, then I have 7 units. So I think the Mistcaller just ends up getting obliterated at the end of the turn.
Right, yeah, I guess it would be whatever returns to your bench last, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Would get obliterated if you somehow make it so you have all 7 of your units coming back.
Yeah.
If they block with all things that don't trade and nothing dies from ephemeral, like you said, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, just a really weird, inconsistent interaction.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it's allowed through.
Yeah, it's weird. Mine was with the Solari Shield Bearer, the 2-drop 3/2 that comes into play with a +4 health buff. That unit interacts with Springs oddly because it actually has its buff still, and then Springs goes off while it still has its buff. So say it like, I play it, it's a 3/6, I attack with it, they chump it with like a 1 attack thing, it goes down to 5 health. The end of the turn will happen, it will heal that thing back up to 6. Like Springs will heal it, like it has 6 max health, and then it will lose its buff. So like you can get like a cheeky Springs heal with that.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah, so it just like loses its buff. So it doesn't come into play all the time, but it's kind of funny where like you can actually get a heal with that character, with that card.
Yeah,
in weird ways.
I think when we were doing our stupid matches on stream, we were just messing around with decks. I think I had a deck that actually did that,
right? Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing it somewhere, and then I had teched it into my version of Soraka Kench, because that's what I got to Masters with. And it was mainly in there just so I could stop some of the Fearsome, because I was seeing a lot of Fearsome, Nocturne Diana stuff, and even just Elise Callista stuff. And it was really annoying. So that card was so clutch into just shutting down Callista, Elise turn 2, and then also just Myths Wraiths and all the other nonsense. So that's when it got teched in, and that's when I started realizing it could do that. And I remembered somebody had done that to me, so it must have been you.
Yeah.
Well, my ranked update, I hit Masters, so I went in at like 221, I think my rank was. And when I got there was, I think, 423 people in Masters. I haven't checked today. This was, I hit it on, I think, Sunday, I believe, or Saturday night. And so I've heard there's about a little bit more than 500 right now. So obviously I'm trying to shoot for the top 700 thing another month before the seasonal tournament comes up. So I have 3 out of 4 gauntlet wins for Prime Glories, and I have Masters already about a month out. So I'm feeling okay. I just need to stay top 700. So I haven't really played since I hit, but my goal is to try to float around top 3 to 400 the whole time, so I don't have to try to grind back in. And then hopefully that's enough to sneak me by. I am not going to be the person who tries to grind to like top 10, because I just don't have the will in me to play that much.
Yeah, top 16, you got to beat it.
Yeah, that is probably my peak for life, Josh.
Yeah, but no, I don't think so at least until maybe the week before, I don't think the top 700 is going to be too difficult.
Yeah, it really is going to come down to exactly that. That week before, what actually happens then, what actually is going on, how many people are trying to grind last minute to get in, and all that type of jazz is really what it's going to come down to. So I'll see. Like I said, I played Soraka Kench. Shout out to Gigas. He's also a writer at RuneterraCCG.com. He put a whole deck breakdown of that deck. I based it around that, and then I just teched maybe like 5 to 6 cards that I liked a little bit more, just for my play style or for what I was seeing more of. And especially once it switched to mostly a ramp meta, switching to that. And, it was funny. I actually liked my matchup versus ramp until Feel the Rush came out. That card just was so rough to deal with.
Yeah,
but, man, there was a lot of people playing scouts, and I was kind of farming scouts well. And, there's a lot of other matchups that I was feeling pretty good against. So,
yeah, that's awesome. How many times you made it? Is it each season now, or you missed it once, right?
I missed one, yeah. So I'm at 4 out of 5. The only season I missed was the season between Rising Tides and Targon. So there was no new cards, and I just had 0 will to play that much.
Was that that was the Bald Eagle meta, right?
Yeah, that's what their big patch was, changing Braum up and doing all that stuff. So there's another ramp meta where I was just like, yeah, I'm good here. Yeah, I had literally like 0 will to play that. I think I got to Diamond and then just stopped and was like, yeah, I'm good. But yeah, this is not the earliest I made it. I'm trying to reflect. Yeah, the Rising Tides meta, I made it in like 6 days or 7 days.
Yeah, you were pushing for it.
Yeah, I went really tried to go real quick. I played the kegs with Radiant Guardian, of course, Radiant Guardian. So I will say this is the first time I've ever made it without using Radiant Guardian.
Congratulations. It's a big stepping stone.
Yeah, I was just using the Broadback Protector and Astral
Protection.
Oh my
goodness. Targon's Radiant Guardian.
Yeah, Targon's Radiant. Yeah, I was still bringing some cheesy heals, but I mean, that's definitely my play style. So
yeah, you're like this mid-range stall until you get your stuff.
Yeah, until my win con comes online, that's why I really like that deck, though, because it's like like you said, you described it well. It's like this control mid range that has an ult win con that's just really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever like unless they're running the Stalking Lizard. That's what it's called, right?
Oh, the Lounging Lizard.
Lounging Lizard. Where did I get Stalking from? I don't know. Lounging Lizard. Unless they're running that, I've never actually seen them like push a ton of damage.
Yeah, so it's actually funny you say that because that card was originally in there, and then he ended up being just a little bit too awkward for my liking.
Mm-hmm.
But my final game, 2 Masters, like the final boss, which I only had to get through one final boss, which was very welcomed because last time I barely made Masters, like at the end of the season, like 3 days before, and I had 7 final boss games. So this is very welcomed. But I beat the last guy with a like 16 attack Shepherd. So I was happy.
Goodness.
Yeah, it was against Ramp, and I sent this 16 attack Shepherd, and they didn't have. They might have had a Vengeance, but they went for the Drain instead, and I just Astral Protection, so it had 7 health. And then they had a second Drain, but that's only 6 damage. So I got through 16 and killed a Trundle deck. It felt great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, and I didn't even have a Springs out like for most of the game. So this was like a Hail Mary swing for the win for 16. I did a shakedown at burst speed, drug all the blockers out, and just went for like an OTK with the Shepherd. Really made me want to make a Stargazer deck for the elusive healing units. I mean, that would be fun.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, but I shared the list on Twitter, so it's out there. I put it on our Discord. If you're interested, like I said, it's based off of Agigas's. It's got a few changes just for current, but I think that deck going forward, we need to keep our eyes on because that is one of the only decks that didn't have a change in all of this patch notes.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, good deck. Where's your ranked update at?
I am just outside of Gold 1. I have had a lot of stuff with my new house going on, so I didn't get to play as much this week. But my Mist Wraith deck is on like a 7-game winning streak. So,
dude, yes, that's the stuff games are made of. Oh, man.
It's so funny. Even when I feel like I have bad draws, or for some reason, even though I only have 13 spells in my deck, my Stalking Shadows doesn't hit, even though it has like a 5% chance not to hit or some nonsense like that, and it still doesn't hit. I'm like, what is going on? But even when bad stuff like that happens, it's still just flooding boards, and people just surrender as soon as they see like a board of Callista, Mistcaller, Mistwraith, Mistcaller, Mistwraith.
Dude, how does the Risen Mist open attack feel though? It's so good, right?
I actually am not running Risen Mist.
Oh my gosh, what?
Yeah, I actually I thought about it, but I chose. You're a
little more in on the ephemeral stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. So I used the Oblivious Islander and the Curse Keeper. So like if I didn't use that little combination, I wouldn't do it. But the Curse Keeper is pretty funny because even if you're like stuck, so like the Oblivious Islander and the Curse Keeper is good because then you get to keep a mana for turn 3 or turn 4 to like miscall Callista, and then what was I going to say? And then the curse, like you automatically get an Abomination, and the Curse Keeper can work well if you're desperate for a go get it. So then you could at least get
that's true.
A couple of Abominations on the board.
Yeah, because sometimes that card can be a little like awkward in hand when it's just kind of dying out. You just needed to play on something. So
yeah, go get it. It's great on the Mistcaller is great on if you need to save like Callista or Thresh. It's great for Rekindler. It's even funny for like if you really need to do some cheeky play to get around some things, you could put it on your Chronicler, so then you can you can Chronicler something again in that round. So you Chronicler, go get it, and then you Chronicler whatever it is again.
That deck just has blowouts with Mistcall. Like if you hit a Mistcall on a Wraithcaller or something, and that's the only thing that died, it's just you just win.
Yeah, so there's just so many ways to flood board state. Like I was playing a game and I even just got ruinated, and I played Go Get It on my Rekindler, and then it's like I have two bodies on board for free, and they just ruinated. So it's like open attack next turn and win kind of thing. Yep. Especially if it's a leveled Callista, and then you have 3 bodies attacking. That's it's a pretty fun deck. So I'm going to try and push to platinum before our next cast, but I say that a lot and then never do it. So hopefully I get a chance to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I was, I was trying to set myself on a time limit. I gave myself 2 weeks. I think it was like about 2 weeks ago. So I was happy to make it happen at least. And now, the hard part for me is going to be playing enough during this patch to be in this meta, because now I want to play. I might have to play some normal games so I don't just tank if I really want to experiment with some stuff, or just do some scrims with some friends because I need to know what's good, what's not good, how it's playing. Because if I'm going to actually take a shot at the tournament, I need to really know these decks. So I'm
Yeah,
excited to see where everything goes.
yeah. I mean, practice nights are always open. So
Yeah.
if you don't want to do it in normals or don't want to tank your rank, then
Yeah, exactly.
Mikey can be a good punching bag.
Yes. I need him, baby. Mike, step on up, Mike. All right, so let's move on into the patch notes. And real quick, one announcement. We have a new tournament starting. Signups are going to end the 14th here. So the tournament will start on the 14th. So you have 4 more days from today to sign up for the tournament. We are giving away $40 throughout the top 4. We're giving away 2 stickers, and the top player can let us know what deck they used, what was their strategy in this tournament, and we'll break down, what their strategy was and talk about how they did in the tournament. But the reason I bring that up right now is this new tournament, we're calling it the Lab Cup, and it will be played only in lab games. I think this is going to be super fun. And we have a new lab. We have the Hexperimentation 101. So this lab is literally perfect for this tournament, and I'm so excited we have this lab now. I literally can't wait. So this lab's crazy. It's in the patch notes. It's our tournaments previously, we were doing all even cards, all odd cards. We were doing things like that. Or no champions, or whatever we were doing. We're doing all these different things. So this lab is literally you bring in pre-made decks to battle, but if you follow 4 different building restrictions, you can get bonuses. So if you do all evens, start of round, grant all allies +1 attack. All odds, start of round, grant all allies +1 health. No followers in your deck. You can contain champions, but no followers. When you cast your second spell each round, create a follower in hand that costs less than or equal to your max mana. I have no idea. That one's wild.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem good at all to me, just on paper, because it's just random RNG, but you have to use all your mana to cast spells, and then you just get followers. The last one is all common cards. If you only build a deck with only common cards, so no champions for this, you from round 7 onwards, you have the ability that at the start of the round, you create a leveled up champion in your hand. So you essentially have the Howling Abyss ability.
Yeah. I wonder if you could do only commons and all odd or even. I wonder if that's possible.
That'd be weird.
Do they allow for 2?
Would you get both bonuses? Yeah.
Because it's you'll go only odd, so everyone gets an extra health. So maybe you could, keep a board state until turn 7.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty fun.
It sounds like perform 1 of 4 experiments by crafting a deck with unique constraints. So I'm guessing you only get 1. But you could definitely do evens with all commons. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it works out. A lot of us, I still have my even decks made, I believe, so I can just roll in with my even deck again, try that a little bit more. I'm definitely going to make an odds deck. +1 health is really funny. I don't know what I would do. I kind of want to do it with Vlad and then just have extra health everywhere and just have beefier things with Vlad Freljord. So I'm excited, guys. Like I said, we're giving away $40. We're giving away stickers, a bunch of other fun stuff. It's a tournament that happens over 5 weeks. So it'll be 4 to 5 Swiss rounds, depending on how many people we actually have. And no top cut. So you'll have a game each week, and then you just keep playing a friend. You have to do a best of 3 with them. And that's it. I mean, it's just, this is our 5th tournament now, and they've all been a blast. So can't wait. Join our Discord for more details. All right, so I guess let's get to the actual patch notes, Josh.
Yeah, we have a lot to go through.
Yeah, this is a beefy one. So for the first time ever, they did a little bit of a metagame snapshot, they're calling it, where they go through and they list anything that has a 3% or more play rate, and then even some more stuff past that, because they also listed anything with above a 50% win rate, it looks like. Yeah. And they listed it, they broke it down by week. So they listed between after patch 1.12, so October 21st to 27th. And then after that, they did patch 1.13, which was October 28th to November 2nd. And they list all these different play rates and win rates and all this different stuff, which was super cool to read. Highest play rate, I guess, for the first one was Lee Sin.
Yep.
He was at 11% with a 53% win rate. And they're saying that they're basing these off of just Platinum, Diamond, and Masters. So if you're below that, they're not counting you in here. But that was that, and Tryndamere with War Mother's Call, this was before Field of Rush got dropped, was still at like 10% play rate.
Wow.
Pretty high. There was also a second Lee Sin deck, Diana and Lee Sin there as well. That was also coming in at like 2.4%. So total of like 15 or like 13.5% for Lee Sin decks there. So that was we remember those days.
Terrible.
After that, now we actually have aggro coming in at the top. So after that patch 1.13, which slightly nerfed Lee Sin, aggro came in at the top at 10%. War Mother's Call dropped down to 8.63%, but they separated that from the Field of Rush deck, and Field of Rush also came in at 7%. So that's like a total of 16% ramp meta in Platinum, Diamond, and Masters. And that's, I mean, we were definitely seeing that because I was telling you how much I was seeing Field of Rush and Trundle and all, and you weren't seeing it as much.
I think I've played against like one Field of Rush deck.
See, that's crazy because I was literally playing against it so much. And I mean, that makes sense, right? It's at 16% right there. Mm-hmm. Pretty high. Lee Sin still was at 7%, so he was still pretty solid.
55% win rate.
Yeah, Field of Rush. That's the highest win rate. It's the second highest on that.
Yeah,
on that
Scouts
second patch. Yeah, pretty dang good.
Scouts and Fury.
Yeah, Fury does pretty good into a
but
lot.
So. Like them together is about the play rate of. It's above the play rate of Field of Rush.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you add regular War Mothers on top of it. So it's just cool data. We've seen things like this from outside sites. We've seen Mobalytics do things like this, and we've seen other sources where you can dig through a lot of the data. But it's nice to actually have them put it into patch notes. We know it's directly from Riot, so they're seeing the true numbers. There's not only people who are using Mobalytics. There's none of that bias going into this. This is Masters, Diamond, Platinum. Here are the numbers. Here's what's going on, which is really cool to see. And they talked about in the future letting them know if they want to make it, a different article outside of the patch notes. If they want to do something different entirely, they could do that. On top of that, Ruben Zoo said he would be streaming at some point, talking about the patch notes and doing a Q&A. Haven't seen that. I think that's
on Saturday, right?
That's this coming Saturday?
I thought so. I could be wrong, but that's what I thought I read.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So that's something you definitely want to tune into. Ask some questions for that. Really, really sweet. So like we said, this is the first big card update coming in. These are the larger mid-expansion balance updates that we're used to, right? So 4 weeks after a mini expansion came out, we get these big balance updates. So these are some of the changes. These are the last ones they really have planned before the tournament in December, like we said. So, I mean, we could see them try to rush something in 2 weeks if there's like something that's really, really beyond busted. But I would be doubtful. I think this is what we're going to get.
Yep. Seems like it.
It's a lot though. So I guess let's go through it, Josh.
Let's do this.
Start with, I guess, Lucian, but I'm going to move Jinx in with this because it's the same exact discussion.
Yep.
So there's always this discussion with Lucian and Sejuani having a text that kind of contradicts itself between the two cards because they're both worded identically. But Sejuani would have her ability work, whereas Lucian's would not have his ability work. So essentially now Lucian and Jinx get paired up with Sejuani in having that their ability can trigger as they level up on the same turn. Meaning that this essentially each round, the first time an ally dies, you rally. This can happen after he levels up on the first turn if another ally dies.
Mm-hmm.
That makes him pretty scary. Lucian gets huge from that. So, Lucian is like now he can rally pretty easily on the first turn that he levels. That wasn't always the case. And now he can do that and it's solid.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. I mean, Sejuani being able to, frostbite as soon as she levels was super annoying. And then Lucian has made appearances into metas for split seconds and then disappear and then come back and then now I don't maybe just him leveling and then just being able to rally right after puts him in a more consistent spot where his decks can actually stay strong.
Yeah, it makes him a lot more aggressive, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
His ability is kind of if it happens, that's really good, but it wasn't always built around that. But I mean, it's a little incentivizing to really try to build around that ability now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe his Shadow Isle dream will finally
Right.
come true.
Yeah. Do you just purposely put some more death triggers in there because of that? And it's interesting. Jinx is, similar situation. So now the difference here with Jinx is you essentially have to empty your hand with
Yeah.
something, but then you have to empty your hand. She doesn't get a rocket when she levels up. That's not how it works. She just can get a rocket if you empty your hand again in the same turn that you leveled her up.
Yeah.
Like the best example of that is if you rummage, discard 2 cards, she levels up from that, and then you draw 2 cards, and then you can afford to play both of those cards. You'll then get a rocket.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
It's pretty big.
I've been playing Jinx a decent amount this patch because of my swindlers and psychos.
Yeah.
Or not this patch, I should say, this season. And there's been times where it's like, oh, I leveled Jinx. If only I could push 4 damage this turn and 4 damage next turn. And it's like, I have the resources because like there's a lot of low cost cards in that deck. So it's like I have the resources to empty my hand again, but of course that's not how it works. So like if I could push 4 more damage, it could mean the game. There's been times where I have literally lost by like 1 damage, and if Jinx leveled, it's like, oh, I could have just had the extra damage right there.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be pretty big.
I actually feel like what they're going to have to do is revert the previous buff to her rocket back to 2 mana because of this. That's my guess of what will eventually happen. That's the hot take for today. That's what I think will happen because, yeah, I mean, granted that, like we said, this condition can only happen if you empty your hand and still draw an additional card after you emptied your hand.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a decent amount of ways to do that, between, Rummage being the easiest because it costs 1 mana. But,
yeah,
you can do it with a few different things.
You could do it with the Urchin. You could do it with
also 1 mana.
Mm-hmm. The Augmented Experimenter. I know you get 3 cards, but if you draw a Rummage in that, then you could just get rid of
all of the cards.
Point.
That's a great point right there.
Yeah, that's pretty huge.
Treasures can do it. Vision can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it with a lot of different things, and it's Get Excited could do it.
Poro Cannon is probably the most annoying way to do it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Right. Yeah.
If you rummage into a Poro Cannon and then Poro Cannon for free, just discards the other card.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking after. Yeah, I was trying to think what is good. That's perfect for an example. I was thinking off of the idea of what can happen with the Augmented Experimenter that you draw and you still have mana for. But a Get Excited will get rid of 2 of the cards right there, so that's an easy way. And yeah, Poro Cannon is one of the best ways. Poro Cannon, Rummage, Zonite Urchin, all are 0 or 1 cost things that will level her and then give you 1 or 2 cards after the fact that you should be able to play out pretty easily.
Yep.
Yeah, Augmented Experimenter is probably the hardest one, just because like you said, you get 3 cards, but all the other ones are pretty easy to do that. I think this will be very important for actually a lot of games.
Yeah, I really want to start. I want to play my my Swindlers and Psychos deck again and see how many times I could actually use this to an advantage to get 4 extra damage off. I could just end a turn earlier or just push damage a little bit quicker where they can't heal. It's like there's been issues where it's like I'll level Jinx and then they'll just, kill her with some spells. So it's like if I could level her and then still get a rocket, I still get, 4 damage plus a 1 across the whole board, it could be pretty huge.
Yeah. Yeah, and these aren't even direct buffs. They're just consistency clarity that they're doing throughout their champion levels up. But obviously they're both buffs to both these champions, the fact that they can trigger this. So and these are just add-ons. They even said they'll monitor it going forward. And like I said, that my early guess is that we'll see a change to the Jinx Rocket going back to 2 mana just to stop the chaos.
Yeah, probably. Because I don't think in this whole patch, I don't think discard aggro actually got hit, did it?
No.
Yeah. So it was already in a strong spot, and now it gets put in a stronger spot. So.
Yep. Yeah, that is the biggest scary fact to me, and looking at that being the highest play rate already before this is scary. I'm gonna have to play some Radiant Guardians.
Definitely.
So we have after that we get to the buffs. So we get to the actual changes, balance changes to actual cards, stat changes, cost changes, things like that. So we have Shyvana, which we knew was getting a buff. We theorized what it was, and typical us, we'd over theorize and just say other things like, crazy stuff that we were saying. And then in reality, I think one of us said, what if she just got +1 attack? And that's what happened. So she's a 4-drop 4/4, which is decent, on attack 5/5, which is really good.
Yeah.
That's a thick body on attacking on 4. It's just, again, the fundamental of Shyvana having to function on attack only is what causes her to be a little bit clunky. So I don't think this helps in the sense that now, like, oh, she functions way better. It's just now that she can trade a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah. Yeah, she does. And I mean, on turn 4, 5/5 attacking is pretty darn strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, just giving her an attack, I think I would have rather seen her go to like a 3/5. So then she get at least block.
I think that was like the general consensus from what I was looking at from different feedback today on her, is that the extra health would have been more appetizing than this.
Yeah. It just, like, I went against the Shyvana today, and she had 2 dragons out. They both did damage before her. She leveled. It was great. But, like, she was forced to block afterwards, and she still just died because it's like she can't. Right. It's like if she had Fury, she would have had 1 extra health and she would have lived. But of course, because she gets her Fury after she levels, and then I don't know, she just doesn't have a way to regain health, and so defense becomes like very, very weird, even though she has a good stat line.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a little awkward. I mean, it definitely helps her in a sense. She'll meet her level up condition maybe 1 strike less because this is 1 more damage now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not huge. I don't think dragons are now like saved. I'm going to jump around a little bit for the patch notes, not just read down directly and try to bunch decks up together. So just since we're talking about dragons, let's talk about the Eclipse Dragon real quick.
Oh, yeah.
This buff's pretty freaking massive, dude.
Yeah. That's a crazy stat line. It's like
that is a thick stat line.
It's like when you are looking at a unit and you could add their stats line together and double their cost. It's like, okay, that's a very solid stat line. And then at a high cost of 7, you're doubling that, and his stats equal 14. Plus, he does all of this other nonsense. It's like, and he has Fury. It's a.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Sean Main said they said they were doing some different adjustments. I'm pretty sure the Eclipse Dragon was one of the ones that he said that they had toned down a little bit going into release.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if I saw that on Twitter, if I saw that or I saw that when we talked to him. But I'm pretty sure they said that he was one of the dragons that they toned down going into the release just so he wouldn't be overstated, and now they're giving it +2 health. So my guess is this is kind of where he started, and they wanted to reduce that, and then they saw, okay, dragons aren't actually popping off that much, so maybe we should just really help them out. But I mean, like Josh said, though, this card is jacked now with Fury, so it's got the same body as like a Mind Splitter for its cost, right? 8/8 for 8 or 7/7 for 7 with Fury. Fury's a really strong keyword in that sense. This is an extremely significant buff, especially with the keyword Fury, because a lot of times they could, it's turn 7. They have a couple things with 5 attack at this point. They could throw it in front. Now they probably don't have that many things with 7 attack on 7. And you have Fury. So whatever they block, you're also gaining some ground with that. And then if you pair that with doing some strafing strikes with Shyvana and stuff like that, you can really start snowballing with some dragon stuff. And then on top of all that, you still have the ridiculously powerful Daybreak effect. And also like kind of the Hail Mary of a Nightfall effect, where it's just like, yeah, I need 2 more cards in hand. Here's 2 more cards in hand. Like, once you're burnt out, this card is really versatile.
I think, so like before, it was like dragons, it was really hard to go into scouts just because, you put units on the board slower. Mm-hmm. And then even if you got to turn 7 and you could play your Eclipse Dragon, Genevieve just traded into it. She just pull your Eclipse Dragon. It was instantly done.
Yep.
I wonder if dragons can figure out how to, slow down the game. So they are Demacius, so they can possibly go unit for unit or just like 1 unit less than scouts. If this could be like a scout killer.
Yeah.
Just because it can trade into everything now. Like not even Cytherea can kill it. It's just it drops on 7 if you survive that long. As long as, scouts don't get their perfect curve, you're probably making it to turn 7. And then this thing just eats everything.
It helps a lot. Even Shyvana helps a lot with the +1 attack, because now when she's attacking, she's a 5 attack instead of a 4. So she can actually trade into, say, so like, yeah, she was a 4 before, say, but a lot of times they would just have something with 4 health that got Bannermaned or something.
Yeah.
And then they're always playing their Ranger's Resolve to get, you need to have that 5 extra, that 1 extra attack now for the tough thing. So yeah, I don't know. I think actually both of those things are pretty significant into a matchup like that. It's just that this is the only 2 dragon changes we got, but they're both pretty important.
Yeah, I think they are. I really wonder, like with this coming out, I really wonder if, the Demacia Targon dragon deck will actually be, one of those top end mid range decks, that could, they just play a little bit slower than all the other mid range decks, and then they just have like these big bodies, because there are huge dragons that just can end the game. So,
oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what they want it to be, and hopefully they're getting there. I mean, the Eclipse Dragon buff is, I do think it's warranted, actually, because it did feel really bad at 5 health. I would expect them to go to 6 first, but it's great that they went to 7, so.
Yeah, they really want to, I think they really want dragons to have a place, so.
Yeah.
That dragon isn't the most expensive, but it isn't the cheapest, so it's literally like right in the middle of your dragon's curve.
Yeah. How the hell is that card a rare, too, by the way?
Yeah,
Dragon, it just screams epic to me, but sure.
Yeah, the way that they make the epic cards here, like, they're like either weird finishers or, weird, just weird interactions that happen. It does feel like an epic.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so we have those 2. We got another. I mean, what's a patch notes without Vladimir and Ezreal? So we got Vladimir and Ezreal. Vlad is a little bit of like a rework with how he's done, which is pretty interesting. First off, he will require 1 less unit to survive damage. So it was 6. Now it's 5. So that's cool. He'll level up a little bit more on curve, which is big. And the biggest reason is, they changed his level 2 to the drain effect, which was kind of important. The biggest thing here is just a 6/6 regeneration on 5 is crazy. Like regen on that body is really good on that turn.
Yeah.
And you weren't always guaranteed the leveled up Vlad at that point. So that's good.
Yeah. That is really, really cool. Just because he can actually level up on curve now.
Yeah. Yeah, like, without a bunch of other good things having to happen for you.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I still don't know. He still requires other bodies to be on the board to actually get his damage through. Yeah. So I don't know if he's going to be strong anywhere, but his level up thing and his new little rework for damaging, it's pretty cool. Allows like some skill expression to come through.
Yeah, so his attack now is he only deals the damage with his attack ability to the units on his right, which is bothering a few people in our Discord because sometimes you want to deal it on the left because he can level up at the end of that and strike it in a certain order or whatever. But like, I don't think it really matters. I mean, he's going to do all the damage to the right, whatever. You get to order it how you want. That ability is going to go off, and then he's going to level up anyway. If he's going to level up from that, I think this is just a good thing. Yeah, there's some weird interactions. If like you're pulling another unit in, it gets like if you're thrashing something in, it'll go to the right automatically. That's all kind of like hish posh. Like none of that really matter. Like you're not playing Thresh Vladimir realistically. Come on, guys. But like, I see like the bothersome part a little bit, but I think it's mainly just a good thing for Vlad. I think it, like you said, it allows some skill expression for Vladimir players. And, it's just like a really interesting ability now. And you don't have to just, you can attack with a Legion Saboteur and just put it on the left of Vlad. So now you're not just killing your own 1-drop. So now they actually have to answer it with a body, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a good thing.
What's really funny? He's a support champ now.
Yeah, he supports everything to his right. That's true.
Our first. Oh no!
Support, right?
Well, the
Sojourners,
they can. as long as there's a support chain. That'd be pretty funny if they made him support and then he could, he could synergize with like the fuzzy caretaker and
oh my gosh,
the sojourners or whatever. That'd be
yeah,
pretty
he is
funny.
feeling more and more like that. I mean, this is a bunch of now. I don't know. He's appetizing to me. He's pretty cool. Like, he levels up pretty quick. He's a 6/6 with regen on 5. That's thick as hell. Like, and he got a good bit of skill expression with the ability. I mean, I'm super intrigued.
Yeah.
I think the package and the cards that you can play with him still might need some tampering with.
Well, I mean, they have bilge. They have bilge now, and him reducing. So it's like the Krusty Codger, the Fortune Croaker.
The Croaker does 2 pings for level up because it damages itself and the other thing. So the Croaker is really good.
And then, I mean, if we're going all in, the Lounging Lizard on 3, and then right there you have 4 pings. Yeah, the Box-to-Puss, that's another one. You can level them up on curve. It happens.
Yeah, for sure. You can. Him and Swain. You could play him and Swain and Bilge and level them up on curve. And, those units don't have the best health for attacking purposes with this, but, like, there's also talks of just playing Vladimir in, like, a Bilge, like, burn deck, right? Like, that just makes sense to me as well because, all right, you're attacking with your thick bodies to the right. Like, Gangplank, with the Make It Rain nerf, Gangplank isn't as appetizing anymore. Because you're not always damaging the Nexus and you don't want to run all those cards. So he's a 5/5 Overwhelm, which is great, and you get a keg. But if you're getting a 6/6 with regen on curve the same time you would with Gangplank, and you can get 2-3 extra damage a turn every time you attack with him, because it's kind of what Gangplank would do, right?
Yeah.
And, if you're playing into a mirror of burn decks and you're draining their Nexus for a couple health and sustaining your own, I don't know, dude. He seems pretty good.
He does, yeah. I mean, I think he definitely could have his own little version of aggro because, I mean, there's a ton of stuff to support. Like, there's a ton of stuff now between Noxus and Bilge to make sure he levels on curve, whether you're running the demo. I know Crimson Disciples are really weird, so you might not want to run that, but, it's still, you get value off of damaging your own unit. So, you run demo, you run all of the other Bilgewater things that I just said. And, you have a pretty consistent leveling Vladimir deck.
Yeah, you do. It's pretty cool. All right, let's move on to Ezreal. We got Ezreal is like, the 10 nerf was too much.
So excited.
Yeah, changing him to targeting 10 people was too much. Every Piltover champion just gets freaking nerfed into the ground. Which I'm fine with, but also I'm not fine with, so I understand. So he got completely reworked now. He only needs 6 targets to level him. Before you uninstall Runeterra, let me finish. He only does 1 damage when you cast a spell, unless that spell targets a enemy. If it targets an enemy, then he still does 2 damage. So that is like his leveled version Nexus damage. So in a sense, you can't just burst down an enemy Nexus super quickly because you can't just play 6 shrooms to deal 12 damage. 6 shrooms now will deal 6 damage instead. Now, there still is burst targeting spells, so you can still, like, troll chant somebody that targets an enemy. You can still, fading memories an enenemy that targets an enemy, that'll do 2 damage. So there's still burst spells that will deal 2 damage. It's just not that every burst
Sonic
spell...
Wave.
Yeah. it has to at least target. Yeah, that's, people are like, wait, will gems work for that? Like, gems won't. Gems will just do 1 damage because they're targeting itself, which is good. So, like, those things at least make sense. I mean, he's a lot more viable now.
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness. There was, like, a handful of people that were like, Ezreal's in a great spot at 10 targets. And it's like, just because you're playing him and you get a couple wins doesn't mean he's in a great spot. It's like he's
not in a good spot.
You just got lucky. Literally, when there's a nerf and the champion that you're using goes from he's been in every meta so far to never being seen again. It's not a good nerf.
Yeah,
and I understand. I didn't want the nerf just because I wasn't abusing the stuff that was breaking him. So, Karma broke him because you double shrooms and there's 4 damage to the Nexus because you're level 10 and then, doubling Mystic Shots and doubling Get Excited. It's like, what are you even supposed to do? So that broke him. They nerfed a ton of that stuff in that deck. So, it kind of came back to not being horrendous, or like horrendous to go against. And then people broke him with Bilge because it wasn't even really him. It was that deck was just like very strong. And then Ezreal just finished when you had 10 health left. And it's like, okay, so the last 10 health was not interactive because, you have warning shots out the wazoo because of...
and the Yordler, the Yordle changed, the Make It Rain changed. So a lot of that stuff has gotten nerfed since too. So
yeah, and then
I guess the discussion is like, where do you put him now? I mean, back with Karma works, right?
Yeah, back with Karma. Ionia, he's really strong just because there's so much card draw, and there's a decent amount of why can I not think of names right now? What is going on? What is the 5-drop that turns into a 3? The spell that draws 2 cards.
Deep Meditation.
Yeah. So Deep Meditation is super strong for Ezreal because like if he's leveled, it gets a ping on the Nexus. You get two spells, so you could clear board while also pinging the Nexus. And Mystic Shots still do 3 damage to the Nexus, which is a crazy amount of damage. So I think this is a really interesting change, and I really like it because I think he is viable now, and my favorite decks are these combo decks because I just feel so in control, and I can't wait to find just a deck that I could just play Ezreal in, because at 10 it wasn't possible.
I'll agree with some stuff, and then I'll play devil's advocate on the other side of things.
Go for it.
So at 10, 100%, he was not in a good spot. He was in a terrible, terrible spot. Like he was, like you said, he went from something that was pretty consistently dominant and at least different portions of metas to like pretty much unseen. And when I did play against him, I was never worried about him leveling up, like ever, which was, a nice change of pace at least, because, we've dealt with him a lot. So it was nice to see him not be in the meta for a little bit. But the thing that kind of happened from that is ramp decks got to kind of rule, right? Like Karma Ez was so good into ramp decks before. Even though they don't have that many units to target, they play enough eventually where you can pop your targets and then you're just a combo control deck. So now you're controlling their late things, you're recalling their little nonsense, you're denying their War Mother's Call, you're denying their Feel the Rush, and you're just kind of hanging out, waiting, playing a slow game, and then you're comboing out the kill. Like that was a great thing for the meta because it stopped things like ramp a lot. We didn't have that. Ramp kind of ran rampant, no pun intended. But the counterpoint that I'll say is that leveling him with 6 targets, it might not be that hard, but at least Make It Rain now costs 3. The body of a 2/4 for 3 that has elusive and creates a Mystic Shot every turn is terrifying, especially if it hits the table early. Like we're used to dealing with Ezreal like turn 8 or 9 or 10 with Karma Ezreal, right? Mm-hmm. But this could actually come online pretty quick, and then you have to deal with this thing coming in. Obviously, Hush exists and things like that exist now, so you can kind of stop it. It still scares me. And then the other main thing that I'll play that the reason this buff does scare me in general, even though I'm pro this buff just because I think this archetype needs to exist, the thing that scares me is Ezreal decks in general or high removal decks completely just dump on the support archetype.
Yes, they do.
Which already is dumped on by most things because it's just not that strong.
Yeah.
So I was so excited to play the Taric and Fuzzy Caretaker that got changed, which we'll talk about in a second. But Ezreal decks just wreck that archetype.
Yeah, I wonder how Nopify is going to change that. So we've never seen.
That's true.
We've never seen like an aggro or like the support deck be able to deny an early Mystic Shot. And if the Mystic Shot, or Get Excited, and if you deny the Get Excited that keeps your Lulu alive or something like that, I wonder how much that changes the game. Just because, that the Ezreal decks really rely on removing the board, like the opponent's board, throughout like the first 4 to 5 turns. Otherwise, they just get run over. So if you can if you mulligan hard for a Nopify and you hold it to keep your Lulu alive, or like a Fuzzy Caretaker alive, and you could actually get through that turn and get a decent amount of damage because they're not going to be running that many units.
Right.
I wonder how that changes things.
That's a great point. And it's it is super interesting. I guess it's like such a sidebar that we're taking right now, but the interesting thing to me is that those decks, a lot of times can't afford to save mana against a lot of other options, but I guess you play that deck a little different into Karma Ez or something because you kind of need to have a Nopify online to stop a Thermo or get excited, like you said.
Yeah.
But that all just leads me to making, like, I want those decks, like those units that you want to put in those type of support decks, just have the attune keyword. Like, I love that keyword, and we've barely gotten the point of it. But that would help so much in the sense that you actually can play units on curve that, maybe reduct a stat or two, but you can play them on curve so you can at least have that removal deny option on curve. That would help that class so much, that archetype. But right now the archetype, just you play a unit, it gets removed. Oh shit.
Yeah. I wonder if the issue with the supports is, they get removed and you're pretty much done for.
Yeah, and they only function on half the game.
Yeah, I wonder if there's, a way, like a unit or a spell, that could give them more survivability without, like, breaking other units. So,
yeah,
he's like a unit that can possibly create, like, a cheap spell that it's like, oh, if you do this on a support, it's a spell shield, but if you use it on this other thing, it's just like maybe +1 attack or something like that. Just to keep, or you could choose between the two, something like that, just so that Lulu can actually be an archetype, because Lulu as a card is fantastic. She's so fun to play, and you just can't play her.
Yeah, and I guess that's the only worry with this buff, is that she is so much fun. She is so exciting to play. And we already haven't been able to play her a lot because of things like, Vile Feast, and because they're just killing the Young Witch with Vile Feast. And then you're getting, Grasp the Undying. And Nopify into that match was actually rough because a lot of times it was Withering Wail, Grasp the Undying, and like Avalanche that were running you over. And they're all 4+. So maybe, like you said, the existence of Nopify will matter now for that archetype.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it definitely for Get Exciteds and Mystic Shots.
Yep.
Thermo is a little weird because if they use all their mana, then you can't Nopify it.
Makes a fun thing. So we do have one more change, for champions, though. So we have Taric as well. So this was Lucian, Shyvana, Vlad, Trundle, Ezreal, Jinx, Taric. 7 champion changes, which is pretty nuts, dude. Taric just gets +1 attack, +1 power on both levels. So he reminds me a lot of Shen. Shen was a 4-drop that had support that was a 2 attack. Now he's a 3 attack. That really does help Shen a lot because he can block fearsome units. He can trade more efficiently. So ideally, this helps Taric a lot too.
Yes. Just being able to trade into things early definitely does help. I mean, like, you could actually use him defensively now and kill some other units, like some of the tiny units if you need to. Yeah. I think it just does a ton. I mean, Taric is another super fun card, but he's just not playable. So any stat buff makes him a little bit more playable. Like, as you see, like in the Shen Fjord decks that have been going around, it's like Shen is not completely useless. It's like, obviously, having an all win con, having the Demacia curve and the Demacia barriers helps him a ton. But in those decks, he's not useless, which, Taric, it has often felt like he is useless just because, I don't know, he doesn't trade well. Even though you're copying a spell over, it's like,
you got to have a lot of mana, right? Like, so if you're playing Taric and attacking with him, and they play a removal option, like, and you need to use mana to just keep him alive, or like use mana to do whatever, Nopify it. If you are playing like Taric Lulu, then you might not have enough mana to actually even use his ability, because you also have to play a spell to even gain full benefits of his ability.
Yeah.
He's just mana hungry. Put a tune on these characters.
That'd be also supports with a tune. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it would help. I really think it would.
I mean, with gems, it would help a ton also.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I wonder if they thought of that at all, but that does seem strong with gems.
Yeah, you just always can copy a spell on Taric. Yeah, that'd be...
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to play around, like, the Taric, and I guess we'll talk about real quick Fuzzy Caretaker. So Fuzzy Caretaker was a 4-drop 3/3. Now he's a 3-drop 3/2, which is way more playable in this archetype. Yeah, he competes with Lulu, but there's nothing really else you wanted to run at the 3-drop other than the Mentor of Stones at times if you're playing that combination. But for just Ionia, there's nothing else you really wanted to play. And his ability is pretty beefy. I actually put him in an article as underrated.
I love the Fuzzy Caretaker.
Because, dude, yeah, he is. The problem is you have to have two other units. So if they just blast one off, and now he goes down to 2 health, which is like, dang. But I understand why he's at 2 health because he's putting 6 stats out there if he actually gets
it's crazy.
But I mean, it is legit. Like when he attacks and his full train is active, like that board is terrifying to deal with.
Oh yeah, Fuzzy Caretaker is one of my favorite cards to play with, and at 3, I think it is going. I know we'll see where these support decks go, where Lulu decks go, but at 3, I think it makes that Lulu deck more consistent. So like, for those decks, you really need to hit like 1, 2, 3, like support. My people stay on the board, and I just have this long train of supports just doing work. Whereas if you didn't hit that, then the other deck's already one step ahead of you, and you kind of don't have anything to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why they were running. You'd be running 9 1-drops, 9 2-drops, and 6 3-drops, and then there's no room for a 4-drop. So Fuzzy Caretaker kind of gets left out to dust. But now with him there, he's a great support. And if you just go 1 2 without anything getting removed, and you go Fuzzy Caretaker on 3, it's like Young Witch into Fuzzy Caretaker into the support, not the Flower Child. That's like a huge attack.
Yeah, no, for real. So that kind of covers the support archetype with Tarek in that. Let's go to the ramp archetype. So we have the number one thing I wanted to see was Trundle get nerfed. We talked all about different ways to nerf him. The ice pillar, making it immobile because it's a freaking pillar of ice. Somehow it's the most mobile shit out there. But yes, we're ideally seeing the pillar of ice nerfed a little bit and Trundle nerfed. We discussed a bunch of different options. One of us at some point said just minus his health by 1. That's what we got. Not too shocking here. I didn't think they would make him a 6 cost because it does kind of go against the whole idea of ramping him out on their turn 4. But 5 health is very significant. He can get traded into a lot of 5-drops now. There's a lot of things with Challenger that have 5 attack. This is big. He can die a lot easier now.
Yeah, this is, I think, really good. Yeah, it's just there's so many things that at turn 4 or 5 that you're going to have something that can do 5 damage, and now he can't just like, I have nothing to do, so I'm just going to attack, and it's either 4 free damage or a good trade on my end.
Yeah, you couldn't even like attack with your Gangplank, your Garen, like your Vlad, like on your turn 5, like unless you had a Vlad who was leveled on curve, like you couldn't even threaten the 6 health, and obviously they have access to Troll Chance and things like that, but like at least make them use some of this stuff. Yeah,
like at least
make them show it.
Force them to use it now instead of later. Yeah. Force them to do something. Instead, it would just be like, okay, you could just attack my Nexus for 4 or...
Yeah, exactly. Like we said, he was too much of a, everything. He did a little bit of everything. He was a mid-range stabilizer. He was a win con in himself. He was just annoying AF. The Ice Pillar also went down from 8 health to 6 health. Thank goodness. It still has to be immobile. How is this thing not immobile? You can take vulnerable away if you want. I don't even care. But like,
I actually, if it's immobile, I guess. Actually, I really like being able to kill the pillar.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it needs to be both. To be honest, I don't know. This is still a good step in the right direction. Like, yes, the Ice Pillar was freaking free on turn 8. And it was a free. What they wrote here too, which was very interesting, is that it was actually like a free pass.
Yeah,
because you got to play it and
it's
you didn't
so
actually use anything. Yeah, so they got to put this down as a huge blocker, and they still have their full mana, so it's like they have an extra action this turn that they don't have to actually pass during. So they get to see what you do first and react, and that's what Control wants to do.
Yeah, it's one of the. There's like one of the most interactive things that I've ever seen. It was like, okay, they on attack, it's like, okay, I'm going to see what they try and do, so I'm going to play a pillar first. And then it's like, well, if I put out something, it's like, if they put out the pillar, then they automatically make something vulnerable. So if I play something else, it's like they know if they can attack with Trundle or not. And then on defense, it's like, say you pass to see what they're going to do. They're just like, oh, here's a pillar. And then it's like, okay, so it's still my turn. And if you pass, then it's like, oh, Trundle attacks next turn, and you're probably dead. So it's like I've
just
never
did so much.
Yes, the Ice Pillar is just. I still am so bitter about the one turn where they played 2 pillars and a Tryndamere, and they pulled both of my units out of the way, so Trundle and Tryndamere can attack freely. It's like they already have Overwhelm.
Yep. Yeah, and this thing just pulled out another like 8 damage of your health. So it's like, my God. All right. Well, at least this is a good step in the right direction. It's 2 nerfs to 1 card. I mean, to 1 champion in general, which is huge. And it was definitely the most oppressive archetype, even though we have here discard aggro having the highest play rate. That's a false number there because War Mothers and then Feel the Rush decks are separated for really a 17% of the archetype or 16% of the games, both at 53 and 55% win rates. So that needed a nerf 100%, and it got a good one, and I'm happy with it. It might need further adjustment, it might not, but even Trundle at level 5, he can get sunbursted or leveled up. I mean, at least he can get sunbursted now.
Yes,
because he has 6 health. So like, there's removal that exists. It's like it makes me happy.
The only consistent way that I found removing him was literally saving my mana to Thermo Beam him when he was played on turn 5.
Like Vengeance or Thermo, that's it. He's ridiculous. I think the most substantial change out of all this is actually the reversion of the Weirding Stones. They buffed it to 4 health at one point.
Yeah.
They dropped it back down to 3 health. I think this is the most important change out of all these cards, maybe besides Trundle and Ezreal.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely out of all the non-champion cards. This allows so much counterplay. Now you can't just drop this on turn 3 and be like, "Oh, deal with me, you jackasses." Like, you can't just like drop this and be like, "Yeah, I'm a ramp player who just played Weirding Stones and then is going to play Trundle," because now there's a lot that can deal 3 damage. Like you said, Get Excited, Weirding Star,
Box to Puss,
Thermo, all of the challenger units. So like the Dragon Lieutenant, the Boxtopus, and the Boxtopus is the first one I thought of because I was playing Soraka Kench the whole time.
Yeah,
and at times I tried to pull that thing out and I can't even kill it. So this is huge. And obviously they can still Troll Chant. They could still Vile Feast because they have other mana, but make them use the cards now.
Yeah.
Like they would be able to survive Trundle attacks and keep their Rooting Stone alive without even having to use Troll Chant. Now they have to have the card. They have to have the mana. It's just so much more reasonable now. And I'm very excited to where like ramp is still really legit. Weirding Stones on 3, Trundle on 4 is amazing. But I had no option against it most games, and now I'm so glad I have something.
Yeah, I would actually have to waste a Thermo Beam on this stupid Weirding Stone to make sure that it doesn't get Trundle on 4. But now at least, Challenger, Get Excited if you need it, or even a gotcha, a good gotcha.
Yeah, that's like there's so much more that does 3 to 4. Like the difference between 3 and 4 is massive. People were even pointing out like just Fleet Feather Tracker with MF on board on turn 3 kills it, right? You pull it out and deal the 2.
Pretty true.
It's huge. It's a massive change, and I'm super excited about the Weirding Stones being 3 because Boxtopus, Dragon Lieutenant, all these other cards that have 3 attack and pull it out are really important, and I'm just hype.
Yeah, I really like Ramp's already really strong, as you could see with the win rates that it had, and I think it's not like these are changes that are really taking away from what Ramp does. It's just it probably hurts just the consistency of Ramp a little bit. So you might see it fall down that like 3% win rate. Hopefully it'll stay like I think it is a very cool archetype. So I don't want it to die.
Yeah,
but so I'm just hoping it's a little bit more fair and a little bit more interactability, so that you can take the Weirding Stones off, you could kill Trundle now, stuff like that.
Like I still think Feel the Rush should not exist as a card. I feel like it should at least cost 13 mana, so you can't play it on turn 9 at all. Like you literally have to be max mana to play it.
I was thinking that actually. I was wondering why they didn't, because like if you're running Trundle, Tryndamere, and you go on attack, it's like if you get it off, you pretty much won the game.
It's literally miserable. I mean, that's why people were running, and I don't even know how enough people were playing scouts to counter it. That's how I actually made masters with Soraka Kench, because like I said, Feel the Rush just ate Soraka Kench. I could try to hush to stay alive, but the amount of times I would actually successfully do that and win the game with springs was so few. Mm-hmm. Like It just felt miserable. So I do think this all helps the middle part of the game where now it's much more manageable to actually either stop their ramping condition with Weirding Stones or kill their Trundle early so you don't have to deal with like excess stuff. Yeah. But I mean, I still think Field of Rush is going to go to 13 mana at some point in the game. And, we'll have to wait and see for that. But that's Probably. Just my guess.
I honestly feel like it might not have been broken just yet. So...
yeah, that card's going to be around for a while.
Like
but I'm very happy to see the Weirding Stone change at least.
It does so much, and it's like, I really haven't seen people trying to, get 10-10 elusives on the board, like a 10-10 Teemo and a 10-10 Sejuani.
Exactly. That's like the meme stuff that's like happening fringely, but every day just Tarek and Tryndamere is just so legit.
Trundle.
Trundle and Tryndamere. Just so legit because Tryndamere has his anti-death shenanigans on top of it. So,
yeah,
it's just absurd. And he turns into a freaking 11-15. Like, what the hell, Riot? Moving on. All right, so we still have a few more. So I'll try to go through some of these a little bit more quicker. Tiana Crown Guard went from a 7-7 to an 8-8. Not really much to talk about, but that's cool.
They really are moving towards this, strong stat line for these upper units.
Yep. That follows through to Minna Swiftfoot, goes from a 6-5 to a 7-6.
She's beefy now.
And she gains quick attack, and she recalls 3 enemies. Yeah, she does a lot. Yeah, I mean, she's a 9-drop. She wasn't seeing a lot of play. She started to see a little bit right now just because of Field of Rush, because you could drop her after that, and you could just recall all this
stuff. Saw the mirror. People were countering Field of Rush with a Field of Rush with Ionia and using Mina so that they could drop that whenever Field of Rush came on.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. You run to die in that in the mirror. You lose a lot of the Shadow Isle's healing, but you gain Ionia's healing, and it's definitely a funny thing. But I mean, yeah, that's a big buff to both Tiana and her. Both get buffed pretty significantly, so that's pretty cool. I mean, like I said, they're minor in the sense of like, they're just stat buffs and then an extra keyword, but they're still units that were in the game for the whole time. They're both from beta, and they're both legit, so... we have Riptide Rex. That's a big one. Riptide Rex. Power is down to 6. So he was a 7-4. He's a 6-4, and he fires 6 cannons instead of 7. Yeah. People have been asking for a Riptide Rex change for a long time. This one comes in at an awkward time because we haven't really seen any Riptide lately. That's just because Ramp has existed and Riptide doesn't do anything in the Trundle, really.
Unless he's the only thing on the board.
Right. Yeah. You're going to put freaking 3 shots into the freaking ice pillar with this thing every game anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, Riptide just doesn't do anything into that matchup. But moving into a mid-range meta, Riptide can become very annoying very quickly again. So I still think this is a good change to get ahead of the game.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, I felt like when Riptide got played against me, or I played Riptide, I would get at least 1 or 2 cannons onto the Nexus. So like 6 feels right.
Yeah, he'll still board clear pretty efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, with the 7, he could put down a potential 21 damage. Say he gets his perfect, barrage against the enemy's board and then attacks. It's like a possible 21 damage turn.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, it's still 6. It's like, if it's perfect, it's like 18, that's not 21. And, the 6 cannon barrages, it's like not as consistent because with 7, it's like guaranteed.
Yep. Yeah, and the RNG goes up a little bit because now you need, you're only having 6, so you're not having as many options for what it's hitting. Like I said, it looks like an awkward change because it looks like it's late, but I think it's actually, I think they know what they're doing. I think it's a really good timing. He will become an issue again if the meta shifts back to a more mid-range style meta. It's just Ramp doesn't give a crap about Riptide Rex, and aggro, the game's not going to 8. So discard aggro and Ramp is not where Riptide shines. But when we get inevitably back to that position at some point in the game, Riptide will be really annoying. But I mean, let's just talk for a second. We have Make It Rain, the Yordle, Jack the Winner. We have Riptide now getting hit. We have Petty Officer back to the 3-1. Like, we have so many freaking Bilgewater nerfs.
But I mean, I think it shows how strong this region actually was.
Yeah.
And it took a while. I mean, we've had Bilge in the meta for like 4 months now, is it?
Yeah. 6.
6. Okay. Yeah. So it's been in there for 6 months, and after all of these nerfs, it's still there.
Yep.
So like it just goes to show. And at first people were like, "Oh, Gangplank's crap," and it's like, and then he just became like the face of the meta. And then I think like Swain TF, I don't even know how. Like so, like that was a super strong deck as of like a month ago when it first came out. It's like it was a deck, but I don't think people realized how strong it actually was because it's lasted 6 months now.
That lingered. Pirate Burn lingered. Yeah, I mean the region is great, and then the cool thing about the Tom Kench release is that it was just another whole aspect of the region, which is really cool. Didn't buff that part; it just helped it.
Yeah, it's like you go into Bilge and there's a bunch of different avenues that you could take, whether it's aggro or the Swain mid range or the Tom mid range. So
exactly.
It is a very, very strong region, and even with all these nerfs, I feel like we're still going to see it.
Yep. To wrap up, we got the Funsmith going down from 5 mana to 4 mana and also loses a power. Funsmith has been a card that's extremely fun to build with, but hasn't seen a lot of competitive play. Reducing its mana opens up a lot of options and definitely incentivizes it in a few different ways. But dropping this and buffing Ezreal like that in the same patch is a little scary. I mean, it's definitely like, wow, there's going to be some spell decks coming out for sure.
Yeah, I think it should be pretty fun. I've always wanted a Funsmith to actually be able to do something, but at 5 cost, it was like it was the worst like 5 drop in the game. Like it did absolutely nothing.
It's a huge target. It's going to get killed as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to play it and then get some effect off instantaneously.
I wish
be able to keep it alive.
I wish it was a 1/4. At a 1/4, I feel like it could actually do something.
Yeah, they're keeping it at 3 because we know that 3 is like we talked about with the Rooting Stones. It's a very important 3 to 4 is probably the most important health change in the game.
Yeah,
we always see like 1 to 2 really matters with Petty Officer, and then because a lot deals 1 damage, and then we see 5 to 6 really matter when you're talking about a 5 or 6 drop. So it is very interesting how like just the one little stat changes can affect the power going down here doesn't really matter at all.
No, you're never attacking with her.
It's not doing anything. It's literally just I mean, it matters in the sense that a lot of the things that can challenge it won't even die now when they challenge it.
That's true.
A lot of the 3/2 things, I guess, matters. But yeah, this card's a little wonky, but we'll see. I don't think it'll be competitive still, but who knows? I mean, it definitely is more enticing.
I really want to see. I wonder if this change is a preemptive one to when Victor releases.
Yeah, it's true.
Or
I think it could be that.
I think we know that it's Victor, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're not supposed to, but it got leaked. Yeah, so we do know. But yeah, I think it's super interesting. And then obviously we have to end on the biggest change of all. Come on, guys.
It has finally come to.
If you've listened to this podcast or seen my Twitter rants at all, you know that the Black Spear change to 3 mana was the worst change in Runeterra history. That is confirmed, by the way. That is just 100% confirmed by just me. But it was terrible. I mean, 3 mana Black Spear for 3 damage. Even decks, like I'll go on forever, even decks that were 100% running full death mechanics like Lucian Callista, like Undying, didn't even want to run this garbage card.
Nope.
3 mana for 3 and having to have something die is garbage. It now does 4 damage, so it's not the buff I wanted, Josh, but it's still good. Okay,
4 damage is massive. That's crazy.
It is pretty good. It's good. Okay, I am now enticed to play this when I'm playing Undying because 4 damage can really kill some stuff.
Yeah, what spells are even 4 damage? It's like Thermo. I guess the Improbulator could be.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot that just straight up deal 4 damage. It is a really weird number for a spell to deal.
Like Vengeance, you usually saved it for things with 4 health, and now there's a Black Spear at 3.
Yeah, like Meteor Showers, like the one that does 4 to 1.
That's slow.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean this matters. I mean, it kills Yasuo. It kills a lot of things that are important at 4. I understand. I still think 3 mana is a tall task, especially in decks that are playing that many units that have things that die. But I'm happy. I mean, like Black Spear, this card, they literally murdered the card when they put it to 3 mana, and it wasn't oppressive at all. But they changed like 1,000 things in Shadow Isles during that patch.
Yeah, Shadow Isles was crazy.
Yeah, Black Spear just deserved none of it, and it got a really harsh nerf, and then even decks that wanted to run it couldn't. But now I'm enticed. I'm very happy. This is a good day.
My goodness. If an ally died this round, deal 4 to a unit. 4! It's so crazy. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, I'm
it's
hype.
it's pretty crazy because, 4 health has been that little window where it's like, oh, I can survive spells. Well,
Yep.
if you're going into Shadow Wilds, be careful of Black Spear and Vengeance. Like, do you even run? I guess you have to still run Vengeance because 4 doesn't kill everything. But
I guess it just depends on the deck, and that's kind of where we go. We're pretty deep into this episode. The only other thing that really matters in this patch here is that spectator mode's out, which is huge.
yes,
We won't talk. I mean, that is literally massive for tournaments. It's massive for everything. They
It's
wanted
so
that
cool,
out
man.
before the seasonal tournament. We'll talk about spectator mode next week, probably just a little bit more after we actually get to try it with our own feedback to it.
Yep.
But I guess the big thing to talk about here is just like what decks come out of it. And something that's interesting is that, Lucian, Tiana Crown Guard, and Black Spear all got buffed. So like Lucian Callista seems really spicy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Lucian Callista could definitely be a thing. It's been a thing for like a week in the past. So maybe it'll come back and
Yeah. The Volt deck is a little bit more spicy because that runs Tiana as well, right?
Yes.
And that's a round start effect too.
Oh my god, that automatically activates Black Spear?
Yep.
Holy crap.
So that deck seems really cool.
That's terrifying.
My Daybreak Dragons deck seems really cool because both Shyvana and the Eclipse Dragon, which is the Daybreak card, got pretty buffed. That seems fun.
So like Black Spear is probably really terrible into like the Tom Soraka decks.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I just realized that Black Spear can freaking kill leveled Ezreal too.
Oh my goodness.
It's totally not worth a gas, but I'm just hyped now. Anything that can kill Ezreal or Jinx, like it does matter. It really actually does matter.
It matters a ton.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking sweet, dude. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, those are the decks that pop out to like, wow, they can really take advantage of these buffs. But realistically, like Ezreal decks are the big thing that'll be back, I think.
Yes, yeah. I am excited to try and craft another Ezreal deck. That's like what I made Masters with. And it is just my cup of tea. So
I think you're
I'm
with
excited.
a lot of people there. A lot of people like that combo play style. People love TF Ezreal.
There's
People
just
love Darkness.
every round, it's like you have something you can do. That's why I think PNZ is actually my favorite region just because of its spells, and it's like you could have a spell curve instead of a follower curve, and with the spell curve comes some more decisions instead of just playing this unit on 1, this unit on 2, this unit on 3. It's literally like, oh, what spell can I do here to prevent the most damage for the next turns and be able to remove what they have later? And that just clicks in my mind way better than what unit should I play here to prevent damage or get the most damage across.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see a lot of that come back, which is going to make deck building very weird and fun. I mean, I think so. All right, so I mean, I guess we can talk about meta overall real quick. I mean, Scouts doesn't get touched, so Scouts will still be prevalent. Ramp will be less prevalent, probably just because of this Trundle nerf, which is a good thing.
I think it'll still be played, but
still be played for sure.
We have seen, when things get touched a tiny bit, people just run away from it. So
yeah, it's true. I mean, Lee Sin was played a lot less, right? His play rate was still 7%, but it was down from like 14 between the other two Lee Sin decks. So
I mean, Karma play is just coming back. So
yeah, it'll be back a bit with people will naturally just go there with Karma Ez. Like I said, I don't know if the Callista and Lucian type of thing will come back, but I mean, it definitely could. Dragons will come back a little bit because they're a little bit enticing. The support stuff I don't think is going to stick at all. I think it might try to come back. I don't think Vlad's going to be consistent. I think the deck I hit Masters with is going to be still going strong. Soraka, Top Kench.
Discard aggro and Soraka Kench.
Yep. Yeah, that and Scouts, none of that got touched. So that's all going to be there. It's going to become this interesting hodgepodge of a meta. I mean, I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 that we just said, Discard Aggro, Scouts, and Tom Rocca might be the top 3 S's that we see. It's very, very reasonable.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that it sounds like a fun meta to me. It sounds mid-rangey. mid-range type control, and then aggro. And I'd rather play in that than ramp mirrors all day, any day of the week. So to me, that's something I'm excited about. And again, we're not guaranteeing anything here. So if that's not something that seems appealing to you, don't worry. I'm sure other things will pop up and be a blast to play too. So there's a lot to play. There's a lot to experiment with for sure.
Yeah, I am excited.
I guess I do worry in a sense just because we're saying that Soraka didn't get touched, Scouts didn't get touched, and Discard Aggro didn't get touched. Well, Discard Aggro did get buffed actually with Jinx.
Oh, when I said touched, I bet it didn't get nerfed.
So. Yeah, no, I wouldn't even catch that when I was saying it. Because I'm like, yeah, they didn't get touched at all. But yeah, no, they did get buffed.
Yeah,
which is scary because it was the highest percent rate. So
yeah, I wonder if Vision will be the next card touched in that.
Yeah, like I said, I guess further predictions going out. We can talk about this next week. We have a bunch more, but like I said, I think Jinx is canon. It would be my first guess. Go back to 2 mana.
Do you think they could ever add another stipulation? So like spend 1 mana. So like if you discard Vision, you need to have like 1 mana to spend.
Oh, 2 Vision, yeah, maybe.
So like if you discard it, it discards, gives a buff, but also uses 1 mana. So like.
Yeah, I can see something.
Like I wonder, like, because I don't know how you actually fix Vision besides like, choose 2 units to get an attack buff or something, like,
right,
along those lines. Because like it just like they already flood boards, and then Vision just adds to the board flood.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the next deck that ends up on the target list, but. And for a bunch of reasons, because they have so many options now with Zonite and Poro Cannon to discard.
It's so fun though.
But yeah, it's fun, and it's even like moderately fun to play against because you are determining blockers, and like you can remove things and do things, and it's actually like I'd rather play into that aggro than like the old burn aggro that was just kind of like, yeah, I played this unit, you took 2 damage. I played this unit, when it dies, you're gonna take 2 damage. Like, yeah, that was all brutal. So. I don't know. I feel like we're going to get into that. That deck's going to be the S tier still for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But hopefully it's we can just build our decks a little bit differently to hopefully stop some of that.
Yeah, I mean if ramp dims down, then you can be a little bit more greedy in countering this deck and discard aggro. So it makes it a bit easier, at least on ladder, and figuring out what to tech into your deck. To counter, because it's like the card that counters discard aggro is not the card that counters ramp. So it might just be a little bit easier. It's like it's very hard when meta is split between aggro and ramp. It's a lot better when it's either like aggro and mid range or mid range and like ramp or control. Just because your techs towards the meta are kind of impact both. Whereas when it's on complete opposite sides of the spectrum, like your techs do not go well for both. So. And
then the interesting part past that, and to end on this, is that this meta is going to be interesting, and it changes once it's a tournament meta, and now they actually have to worry about that. Right now, their tournament is 3 decks. You ban 1, and then you play with the other 2. So those metas matter. Like you can bring 3 ramp decks or whatever. So like what you're bringing against that is interesting. Do you bring 3 aggro decks? Do you bring 1 of each? What do you bring? And that all now goes into the discussion when you're talking about this meta. And it's just super interesting. Now we haven't talked about the ban 3, but we sure will be talking about it on the podcast here and there, because there's some stuff that is going to matter coming up. And we have a tournament coming up. It's other people are going to play tournaments with this style. We might run one with that style once they give it to us in client. So it's that portion of the meta is something that we haven't discussed ourselves because we're not tournament coverers. We don't just cover tournaments here, but we'll definitely be discussing it at least a little bit now that it's officially backed by Riot.
Yeah. I actually really enjoy, so like I go on Twitter each day just to see tournament decks that were played. Yeah. Some of them are, it's like straight top tier decks. So they're a little bit boring, but some of them, they're like top tier decks with cool text. Like, I don't know if you've looked at Swim's decks before that he uses in tournaments, but he always has some of the like most unique just text in there. Like he'll put in just a random champion that can possibly synergize and win him the game in a certain matchup, or he'll put in a spell that's like, or a follower that you're like, oh, why is that in there? And then you see his game, and it's like, oh my goodness, that's why the follower's in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards like that in Runeterra, so it's definitely interesting to go into that meta, like Passage Unearned and things like that are just extremely specific counters to certain decks where that card's dead against most things, but it's just kills Feel the Rush. So if you go into a tournament knowing that there's going to be decks like that, you just don't ban Trundle, and then you can probably beat it because you have that card that just stomps it,
Yeah. So that's super interesting. I actually look forward to seeing tournament decks. So if we ever, because of the new tournament stuff that's coming up, if we ever, talk about it, I am all for, talking about interesting techs or talking to people about why they teched in certain things.
Yeah, so that'll do it for this episode. But like we said, we're always down to talk about that. We have a tournament section in our Discord, which we haven't gotten a lot of use. That's at any Patreon level that I've talked a little bit when I was going to run into one of the other tournaments. Never got around to it because that's how time consuming it is. But the other thing in this patch is that the next two gauntlets are both going to be best of 3 ban, and you only have to get 4 gauntlet wins. So you're banning a deck. It's literally how the tournament is going to be run. So it's going to bring 3. You both ban a deck, and then you have to win with your other 2 decks. So it's best of 3. Once you win with the deck, you can't play it again. So I am going to, starting this week, be talking in that Discord section a lot, discussing what changes and what lineup I'm going to bring, because I am not sure yet. So I'm going to be playing a lot this week, discussing it. So if you're interested, you can hop on over to there. As always, follow us on Twitter. If you guys aren't, join our Discord. We don't do this at the end of the episode, but it is important. Any like or share is like massive for us, especially when we're trying to get other support from other things. All the plays that we get, all the likes and shares and retweets and upvotes and all that type of whatever nonsense it is, that always is super helpful. So we always appreciate it. Anything else, Josh?
No, I do not have anything. We covered a lot today.
We did. Guys, enjoy your week. We'll see you next week. And if you're looking for any of those links, they'll be in the description of this episode. Let's go play some Valorant. See you guys.
See you.